Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and we have got the playoff quarterfinals preview coming at you guys today. I'm going to go through all four games, just chronological order. I've got much more notes on each of these games than I normally have during the season because we've only got four, and now we have all of this data to really put towards all these games. So I'll give you guys some picks in each game where I'm leaning, what I think is going to happen. So let's just get straight into it, starting off with the game that is tomorrow on New Year's Eve, Miami versus Ohio State. Ohio State's laying 9.5. That is the biggest spread of this week. And the game's in Arlington at the Cotton Bowl. Now, if A&M had been able to beat Miami last week, they'd be playing this game kind of as a home game. But they're not, because Miami is coming off of that very impressive showing, at least defensively, at Kyle Field. And Ohio State hasn't played since they lost that Big Ten title game to Indiana. And if you guys remember, it's been talked about a lot this past week, but every team that had a bye last season lost. So can Ohio State break that trend, being the first team off a bye to play? And in this game, you have two of the top four scoring defenses in the country. Ohio State's at number 1, only allowing 8.2 points per game, and Miami's at number 4, allowing just 13 points per game. And Ohio State, they also have the top pass defense in the country. They're allowing just 129 passing yards per game. So can Mark Fletcher for Miami, their running back, can he take over once again? He had 17 carries for 172 yards against Texas A&M in their last game, but he really took over that game late. It wasn't like he was consistently chipping away, but on those last few drives, Mark Fletcher was the go-to guy, and he really helped Miami bury that game. But Ohio State, they have the number 5 rush defense in the country, only allowing 84.5 yards per game. This Buckeyes defense is just terrifying. So Miami, on offense, there's nothing really flashy about passing or rushing on paper with their offense, but can Malachi Toney and Mark Fletcher just kind of will them to the end zone a few times? Because those are their two best players by far. The downside to that is that Ohio State really counters both of those guys with multiple first-round picks. They have Caleb Downs in the secondary, and then Arva Reese and Sonny Styles up front. So both of Miami's main weapons, they're countered pretty well with Ohio State's defensive superstars. And because of that, Miami's team total is only at 15 points. Right around 15 points for this game. Flip the side real quick. Miami's defense, they are 4th in scoring, 10th in yards allowed. They are 32nd in pass yards allowed and only 7th in rush defense. The passing concerns me because Miami's defense, they allow a very high EPA per play on pass plays. So in English, explosive downfield passes get them. And the law firm of Sayin, Smith, and Tate, it has been feasting on downfield passing all year long. Smith and Tate just bust down the middle of the field, and then Sayin's deep ball accuracy is just something different. So I'm pretty worried about Miami's deep pass defense in this game. I think Ohio State can have a lot of success throwing the ball pretty far downfield. The counter to that, though, it has to be Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor for Miami. Those two guys need to combine to get 4 sacks between each other. That's sort of what I think is going to be the stat that makes or breaks this game for Miami. Can those two guys dominate the front, make Sayin get the ball out fast so he either can't go downfield or he has to rush it where he's inaccurate, making a bad decision, or just get to him and get him behind the sticks? Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor are the most important Hurricanes in this game to me because I just don't see how Miami offensively is explosive in this one. I don't think that they can really string drives together. I don't think they'll be able to stay on the field a ton. And Ohio State, they can drive 5 different daggers into you in one play offensively with their weapons. So I like the Buckeyes to win. I think I like the Buckeyes to cover that 9.5. And if I want to get a little spicy, I might go with Miami's under on their team total because you can get it at 14.5. I think Miami's just a little outclassed in this one. And what you're hearing a lot about is that Miami's got, better quarterback experience. They're better in both trenches. I don't see it because if all that was true, you wouldn't see a line at 9.5. You'd see it at 6.5. Or people want you to take Ohio State just so Miami can flex their muscles. The line tells me all I need to know here. I think Ohio State is the more talented team. I think they match up well. So give me the Buckeyes to beat Miami relatively comfortably and move on. And we're moving on now to New Year's Day. The first game is Oregon versus Texas Tech. You got Oregon laying 2.5. This is in Miami at the Orange Bowl. Oregon's defense on the year is allowing just 271 yards per game and 16.3 points per game. That would be great if Texas Tech's defense wasn't down at 254 yards per game and 10.9 points. Both these defenses are absolutely incredible, and Texas Tech has been making headlines all year. Their pass defense is just fine in yards allowed, allowing 185 per game, but they have forced 16 picks to only 11 touchdowns through the air. So the yards are kind of there for opposing offenses, right? They're not going to totally shut down, but these Raiders, man, they are just total ball hawks. So if you're afraid of throwing picks, why not hand the ball off? Because Texas Tech is allowing just 68.5 rushing yards per game, and they forced 23 fumbles, which is the most in the country. I mean, this Red Raiders defense is literally doing everything right. There's almost nowhere to go. So where I went to see what Oregon could do was back to their Arizona State game when they beat Texas Tech down in Arizona. They didn't run it that much to the Sun Devils, only 2.1 yards per carry, just 75 total yards on the ground. But Sam Levitt threw for 319, and there were multiple wide receivers over 100 yards. And to me, Oregon profiles as an offense that can do that exact same thing because they have better athletes than Arizona State, and they have better athletic depth. Yeah, Malik Benson, DeCorian Moore is back. Gary Bryant Jr. is back. And they also have the potential number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft at quarterback in Dante Moore. So Oregon, their makeup offensively, it seems like they could do exactly what Arizona State did to Texas Tech. And really to a bigger degree. I think Oregon, they could get to 30 in this game, which is kind of wild to say going up against Texas Tech, but the blueprint is there. And we've seen it work for Arizona State, and now you have an Oregon offense who's coming in with upgrades at every position over ASU. I think they can do the same thing, but for Texas Tech, flip it over on them. They have the 5th best offense in the sport in total yards, and they're 2nd in the nation in scoring. They're throwing for 289 yards a game, running for 190. My question is, can Cameron Dickey, their running back, get established? Because Oregon, they have a good run defense, and Cameron Dickey has 1,000 yards. But dig into it. 263 of those yards were in their game against Kansas. And he had 121 in their first matchup against BYU, but those are his only 2 triple-digit games. So Cameron Dickey, he's a great running back. He's not really the same caliber of running back as these other 1,000-yard guys. Over a quarter of his yards came in one game. So he gets credit for that game, but I'm not really looking at him as this consistent threat to run for $115 every week. I'm just not, because he's only gotten that number twice this year. So if they have to throw it around, I do trust Baron Morton to keep it safe. Only 4 picks on the year. But if it is going to be a passing battle, because I think that Oregon's going to throw it around, and I think that Texas Tech is going to have to throw it around, I trust Oregon's weapons much more. And the total for this game, instead of 51.5, most of the bets are on the over, but the numbers dropped a point. So the reverse line movement there implies that you should be betting the under. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to. I want to bet the over, but the bet that does kind of scare me off. So I'm going to take Oregon to win and cover. I think they win this game by at least 3 points. And Texas Tech, this has been a great story, an awesome season. I just think matching up against this Oregon team, it's a brutal draw because Oregon is a team that I think could go win the national championship. On to another game featuring a Big Ten team, Alabama versus Indiana at the Rose Bowl. Indiana is favored by 7 right now. Both defenses in this game are in the top 15 nationally in yards allowed. Indiana is 4th at 257, and Bama is 13th with 288. And Bama's offensive game plan, I've said it over and over again whenever I'm talking about this team, it's very clear. The offense is one-dimensional. They are going to throw the ball. The running game does not exist. And it won't help that Indiana's run defense is just allowing 77 yards per game. It's 3rd in the country. But the other side of that is, right, so Indiana's rush defense is great. And when you're going up against a team that is used to running the ball, and you can shut that ground attack down, you can kind of shell shock them. You know, sort of put a crowbar in the spokes and sort of make them stumble. Bama's not going to care that they can't run the ball. Like, they're going to be totally comfortable with the fact that they can't run it for more than 2 yards ever. So Bama, they need to hit their passing windows, which have been very, very tight. Like, they can't really throw the ball deep. It's a lot of just intermediate routes, and we saw in the SEC title game against Georgia, they couldn't do that, and they got popped. Against Oklahoma, they couldn't do it until later on in the game, and you saw it develop. But in that first half, it was a nightmare. And Indiana's pass defense is 18th in the country, so it's not a weakness at all. But it is weaker than their running defense. So if that's how they're going to do it, Bama, moving the ball, they have to do it through the air. In Indiana, they're down Stephen Daly. He was injured post-game of the Big Ten Championship, a guy who had 5.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and obviously just going on beyond, losing out on Daly. This is going to be their first time ever without him. Because it's not like he got hurt in the Big Ten title game and then they played the second half without him. He got injured post-game. So they have not played one live rep without Daly on the defensive front? How easy is it for Indiana to adjust to missing his presence? Who is able to step in and fill that role? Can somebody step in and fill that role? So it's going to be really interesting to see what the absence of Daly means, because if Ty Simpson has time, we've seen how dangerous he can be. But he has not looked good under pressure at all. I mean, really, really bad when he is hurried and sped up. So he's mobile-ish, right? But not to the point where I think he can escape pressure consistently, make guys miss in the backfield. And so I'm losing out on Daly, a 5.5 sack guy, does that pass rush for Indiana, which I do expect still to be good. But can it be dominant enough to get Ty Simpson uncomfortable and really disrupt Bama's passing game? I'm worried about Bama's receivers as a whole. This happened a lot in the Oklahoma game, and I tweeted about it a good bit. They don't catch with their hands. Like, the catching technique for Bama's receivers is horrible. Everything is getting into their chest. And you saw several drops by Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, that just happened because they didn't go like this. They went like this. So the ball hits their chest, it hits their face mask, and it's incomplete. And when that happens, it can pop up, it can be a pick. Like, I don't really understand why none of the Bama receivers catch like this. I don't know what the coaching is doing where that's happening, but I'm kind of worried about that, where it can be, a big third or fourth down. It can be a play in the end zone, and Ty makes the throw, but Bama's receivers just don't catch it because they're not doing it the right way. And if it bounces up, it's an interception. That can be a game-changing play, so we'll see how Alabama's passing game does play out. But the good news for Bama, they get LT Overton back. He missed the last 2 games with an illness, and that's the thing about this really that I want to point out. He's not coming back from injury. He's not coming back from a sprained ankle or something with his pec. He's coming back from an illness. So it gives me way less worry about him not being fully in game shape. Like, it's not like his ankle is only like 80% and now he's going. Everything on his body is 100%. He's gotten 2 weeks off now. 2 games off, more than 2 weeks. So he'll be back pretty much full strength. And Indiana's offense, they're getting 470 yards of offense per game, scoring almost 42 points per game. They're only throwing for 251 per game, which is not close to the top at all. But their quarterback won the Heisman. Who cares? But they have the 10th best rushing offense in the country at 221 yards per game. Roman Hemby has eclipsed 900 yards, averaging 5.2 yards per carry, and Kalon Black has 799 yards, averaging 5.6 per carry. Those 2 guys can just take turns gashing and wearing down a defense. Bama, their run defense is giving up 120 yards per game, which is outside of the top 20 in the country. So really, when you're watching this game, expect 2 totally different attacks for offense. Indiana is going to be on the ground, and Bama is going to be through the air. I have a hypothesis with Indiana that, given the logo at the top of the screen, is going to just sort of seem like bias, right? And that is sort of my rooting interest. Can a team with only 7 4-stars as their cream of the crop talent really win consecutive games against the most talented teams in the country? They just beat Ohio State, 13-10. If Ryan Day goes for it on that late 4th down, I think that game ends up differently. And, talent composites are talent composites for a reason. They're published for a reason. And if you go through all of the title winners and semifinalist, appearances, it's a lot of schools who have double-digit 5-stars. Indiana's just not one of those. I think they're the least talented roster in the Big Ten, actually. And look, it's so much credit to Cignetti, the coaching staff, and those players for how hard they play. They are an incredible team. They are 13-0 for a reason. They won their conference for a reason. I don't think that they can win a championship because of what that roster is like. I don't think that they can go 4 straight games, including the Big Ten championship and the rest of the playoffs, with having the significantly worse roster. So will it be this week? Maybe, but I just don't think they can get it done overall. And last year, I talked about already, we saw the top 4 seeds with all this time off struggle a lot last year. I'm going to take Bama to cover. I'm not ready to say that they can win, but I like Bama to keep this within 7. So getting Bama plus 7, obviously you get a push to the touchdown, but anything less than that will get a win. So I'm taking Bama to cover. I think this game is going to be competitive. And my Indiana hypothesis, I'm not sure if it comes true this week, but I really doubt their ability to win a championship given the way their roster is actually built out and their talent profile. But on to the last game of the quarterfinals. Ole Miss versus Georgia, the rematch. Georgia laying 6.5. This game is at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. Georgia, they are 11th in total defense, and Ole Miss is not that close to that. They're much worse. Ole Miss, offensively, they're second total offense. Georgia is not that close to that. You've got these two teams really just total mirror opposites of each other. But in this spot, to me, defense is more valuable. And I'm also now very conditioned to trust Gunnar Stockton in big games. Is he going to throw for 350? Maybe not, but is he going to make all the right decisions? Yeah. Is he going to be able to hurt you with both his arm and his legs? Yeah. So I trust Gunnar a lot. And Ole Miss's pass defense isn't much to write home about, and Georgia is getting Colby Young back in this game. So I could really see a very efficient day for Gunnar Stockton playing out. And Georgia, like I said, Ole Miss's pass defense, not great. Colby Young suiting up. Georgia wants to focus on running the ball, setting the tone on the ground, and establishing their backs. Ole Miss's run defense isn't great, right? Their defense for Ole Miss really is just kind of like a thumbs up. It's not a double thumbs up, and it's not a cheer. It's just like a thumbs up. So I think that Georgia really will be able to kind of lean on Ole Miss because we saw in their first game, Georgia didn't punt. Ole Miss never forced a punt. So in this game, I do think some adjustments will be made, but I don't expect more than 2 punts for Georgia in this game at all. I don't. And on the flip side, the Rebels, they have the third best passing attack in the country with 312 yards per game. Georgia's pass rush was bad for like 10 weeks. But then you go back to Georgia Tech and you go to the SEC title game. This pass rush is waking up. It is coming on a major way. So I think that they will be able to get pressure, but it's on Trinidad Chambliss then to be quick with his decision making, be mobile with his feet, because he has the ability to do that. My question is, can he do it consistently and avoid costly mistakes as we've seen him develop through the year? I've gotten much more confident that he can be that guy where he can consistently look in the face of pressure, avoid sacks, and then make a smart, accurate throw as opposed to just a panic throw. So I do trust Chambliss there. And the rushing attack for Ole Miss, it doesn't really rank nationally very well. That's just because it's really just Keywan Lacey. But we know how dangerous Keywan Lacey is, and he was listed as probable on the injury report last night after his shoulder injury against Tulane. He's going to go. He's not going to miss this game unless his arm detaches from his body. My question is, how much is it bothering him? Because what does a hit to that shoulder by C.J. Allen feel like? It never feels good, but does it feel worse? Right? Because he'll be toughing it out, but if it's a serious pain issue, you might see him running just a little bit differently, but Keywan Lacey will be going. But looking towards the betting angle of this game, literally all of Planet Alert is on Georgia. You have 74% of bets and 89% of money on them minus 6.5. The line won't go to 7. That is, the line there is trying to tell you something because the books are just accepting all of this money on Georgia and they won't change a thing. They want the money on Georgia. So my pick is Georgia to win the game. I'm not going to do it on the number though because of that bet data. I don't trust it. It seems like they're trying to, draw people in with the dogs for Ole Miss to have a good game. And, for Georgia, they lost in this building a year ago, coming off of an SEC title, the bye, and then going to the Sugar Bowl. They lost last year. You don't think that whole team knows it? Gunnar Stockton, he knows it. And the coaching edge in this game, massive lean to Georgia. Not because I don't like Pete Golding, but there's a lot of guys on Ole Miss's staff who have been in Baton Rouge all week. Their attention is split. I trust that they are doing all that they can to help Ole Miss in this spot, but all that they can is half as much as it was earlier in the year. So the coaching edge to me goes to Georgia, roster talent goes to Georgia, defense in my mind goes to Georgia. I like the dogs. I'm not going to take them on the number though because that bet data is freaking me out, but I like Georgia to move on. So there are the winners. I think Ohio State wins and covers. I think Oregon wins and covers. I think Indiana wins, but Bama covers in the Rose Bowl. And I like Georgia to win, but Ole Miss to cover in the Sugar Bowl. There we go. Those are the 4 quarterfinal playoff games. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you. Please subscribe and follow me on Twitter. Happy New Year to you all. I've been Will Thomas, and I will see you next time.